If you've been in the market for a versatile and affordable magnified rifle scope, I'm sure you've looked at the 3 to 9 by 40 category because there are a lot of scopes that fit into that category. Today we're going to look at two of those, the Vortex Crossfire 2 and the Nikon Prostaff, two excellent scopes that fit into that 3 to 9 by 40 range. We're also going to talk about why I think it's a very good category of scope to consider. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome back and thanks for tuning in. I also want to thank Optics Planet who supplied me with these two optics for testing. They're also supplying you with a very limited time offer, a 10% discount on anything site-wide. There are perhaps some exceptions to that, but for the most part, 10% off anything. This is a very rare offer. But I do thank them for supplying me with these two optics so that I could beat up on them, so I could test them thoroughly for you guys and determine what they're worth, and also explore the whole 3 to 9 by 40 range of optics. There are quite a few of them out there, as I said before. That really indicates, though, how popular and how versatile this category of scope is. And that's what I really want to nail home in this video. The 3 to 9 by 40 range is just extremely versatile. I've looked at lots of other ranges, some 2 to 7s by 32-ish or whatever it was, a handful of other ones. And what I've come to see is for close to relatively medium range, the 3 to 9 by 40 is very, very good. If you get a quality one, you'll have great clarity, you'll have the versatility, the durability, the affordability, and all the other factors that you want from one of these scopes. And we'll cover all those bit by bit, point by point as we attack both of these scopes throughout this video, so stick around for the duration if you can. But this category of optic, in my view, is going to be great for hunting at medium to long-ish range. I'm talking out to perhaps 400 or so yards. They're going to be great for up-close stuff if you ever have to do that. When you nail that, dial that back down to 3, you can get on target at 7 or so yards without much difficulty. I mean, if you practice it, it's easy, and I did it quite a lot in testing these two scopes. As you see in some of the overlay footage, these two scopes went on my two AR-15s. The Vortex went on top of my Palmetto State Armory gun, and the Nikon went on top of my Smith & Wesson M&P 15 Sport. And before I detail how these two optics did on those guns, I might as well cover cost right now. These two optics are pretty affordable. They're both way under $200. The Vortex, as of right now, comes in at about $150 on opticsplanet.com. The Nikon comes in at around $180 for this particular version. There's another variety of it with the BDC reticle and the silver finish. That one is about $190. The Vortex also varies in price from $150 as of right now for that dead hold BDC or the V-Plex reticle. The V-Bright reticle as of right now is about $190. So again, well under $200 for either one of these, and they are both very good quality with lifetime warranties on either one of them. I haven't tested that warranty. I may test that warranty on the Nikon, and I'll get into how and why I might need to test that in a little bit. But for the most part, they performed flawlessly, and I'm really impressed with the range of versatility on these two optics. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video and you're still confused about what 3 to 9 by 40 even means, we'll cover that real quick. 3 to 9 is the range of magnification. You go from 3 all the way up to 9x. And 40 is just the size of the objective. That's the area that gathers the light at the front of the scope. That's how big that is. 40 millimeter is a great size. You can obviously get bigger than that, but you run into limitations with how it could interfere with your gun and mounting it and so forth, as well as weight and other issues like that. let's get into some comparisons with these two scopes and try to help you determine which one of these two might be better for you. Let's first look at the Nikon and just kind of examine the reticle in there. What you don't see here that I need to explain to you is the fact that the crosshairs are not black as you look through that. As you look through this Nikon, those crosshairs are actually, they have a metallic sheen to them. They look like they're perhaps brass or copper or something like that, which is great. I mean, that means that in lower light, they actually seem to catch light and stand out as you're looking through the optic. And in bright light, they look dark against whatever background you're looking at. So it's very versatile, both in low light and in bright light. And I'd say that for that reason, this is a very good reticle that Nikon gives you. And let's move on to the Vortex Reticle, which is definitely different. And what you're looking at here specifically is the bullet drop compensation version of the reticle. So what you've got is not just those crosshairs in the middle, but then you've also got these little tick marks on either side, top and bottom, the bottom extending a little further down. That helps you in cases where you are firing and shooting out to longer ranges. It's very, very useful to have this kind of a thing on your scope, because that means you don't have to do a lot of spinning of your turrets. It's just a matter of holding a little higher up to whatever tick mark it is you have established, and you'll be able to connect repeatedly with no problems. I shot out to 425 yards with both of these scopes, the one with the BDC reticle and the one without it, and felt like I did just fine. It was challenging to reach, to find my hold for both of them for a little while, but once I got it, I was on all day long, or at least I could have been.
Yards.
Having discussed the reticle, let's move on to the clarity of each of these scopes. And this is a really important factor as you're searching for your 3 to 9 by 40 scope or any other category of scope. How clear is it? How good is the glass on this scope? In my opinion, the Nikon is slightly better. They are both very good. I find that they gather light and darkness pretty well, to a reasonable degree, I should say. And also, they're not really difficult to acquire a target with or to stay on target with. They both have good focus rings on the back here that are easy to actuate. I find the Nikon to be a little bit more positive, a little bit easier to turn, I should say. The Vortex, I seem to need a little more force to rotate that. So there's some potential dings against the Vortex there. And of course, the fact that the Nikon, like I said before, to me is slightly clearer. It's just, I don't know how to describe it except to say that it does feel clearer as I'm looking through that glass. It just seems to gather a sharper image and just work a little bit better than the Vortex. From there, let's also talk about eye relief. And eye relief, for those of you that are new to it, essentially means how far away does your eye need to be from that scope in order to see through it clearly. And that varies definitely scope by scope. And there could also be a range of forgivability, I guess I could say. That's not really a good word for it, but a range that you can move back and forth and still have a good view. And that also changes depending on the magnification that you're using. If it's at 3, on the Nikon, the stats say that this is going to be about 3.6 inches as you're looking into that. That sounds about right to me. The Vortex is about 3.8 inches for, again, at 3x magnification. And that's going to change to right around 4.4 if you go up to 9x magnification, which means you just want to pull your head slightly back for those longer range shots. We should also discuss the magnification rings, which are definitely different on these two optics. On the Nikon, we've got this great little tab here that helps us turn that by just using one finger or, kind of grabbing it. You've got a nice anchor point as you grab it and rotate it. So that tab definitely makes a difference, and I prefer to have that when I can get it. On the Vortex, we don't have anything like that. It's just a simple ring with some good knurling on it, which turns pretty nice and easily. It's not difficult. You can do that from behind the gun. You don't have to get up and put some weight behind it or anything like that. It turns fine. But it's going to be a little more difficult to sort of determine where you're at on there, as well as also, you know, just grasping one little tab and rotating it. So you don't have that option on the Vortex. So perhaps a slight ding there if it's your preference that you like to have a tab like this to be able to turn. And not everybody really cares for that. Moving forward on the scopes, we might as well talk about the caps. On the Nikon, I find that those caps on those turrets come off very quickly and easily. There's just just a couple turns and they're off. Okay, you don't have to spend all day spinning and spinning and spinning. They just, again, kind of rotate a couple of times and then they're off. If we move on to the Vortex, the caps on this one have some great knurling up here. I didn't mention that the Nikon caps feel like some sort of a plastic, a polymer. They have a sort of a soft, almost a rubbery feel to them. They're not rubber, they're plastic, but they do feel soft in a way. So there's one thing to note about the Nikon caps. The Vortex caps feel like they're made of aluminum. They've got some great knurling, as I said, right on here to help you grasp them really well. And you turn it and 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 turn it, and there it comes off. So you've got to turn that for quite a while before you've got that cap off. While we're talking about the caps, we might as well address those turrets, which you're going to be far more interested in than you are in the caps. So let's talk about some of the advantages to the Nikon over the Vortex and vice versa. So one great thing about the Nikon that I'm perceiving is that we have printed right here on the turret itself a little indicator saying 1 click equals 1/4 inch at 100 yards. It also says 1 click equals 7 millimeters at 100 meters. So you've got the option there and a quick translation for how to adjust based on whatever your measurement system is. The clicks are positive, they feel good. They work really well. It's not too hard to turn them, also not too loose, so you're not going to accidentally be bumping them. Especially that's not going to happen if you keep the caps on, of course. But I would say that the turrets on the Nikon, there's really no downside to those at all, in my opinion. Then the turrets on the Vortex. We see also that one has a little indicator on there, click equals 1/4 inch, or 1/4 MOA is what it says there. If we talk about that turret and how it feels to rotate, it's also pretty good. I would say the clicks on it are a little bit softer. They're not quite as positive. You can feel them, but they kind of, how do I describe it? They just have a softer touch to them, a softer click. Not quite as responsive. It's got a good amount of resistance, so you're not going to accidentally turn it. But again, knowing that you've made that turn, made that click, you may not feel it if you're distracted by other things. So that could be a potential downside to the Vortex. And let's talk about the range of adjustment in these two optics while we're talking about the turrets. In the Vortex, you get a maximum adjustment range of 60 MOA, which seems pretty good until you hear what the Nikon gives you, 80 MOA. Well, that's quite a bit better. So definitely I would say that Nikon comes out on top in regards to the versatility of range, because if you can adjust to 80 MOA instead of 60, well, that's a lot more drop, a lot more windage that you can compensate for. There's only about an ounce or so of difference in weight between these two. The Nikon comes in at about 13.7 ounces, the Vortex at about 15 ounces. The build quality on the Vortex probably makes up that weight. I have dropped the Vortex accidentally. While I was trying to mount it, it managed to sort of slip off the rifle and hit my concrete floor in my garage. I wasn't happy about that. I will say that the focus adjustment on the back, it did seem to come off track of the threading. But a little bit of turning, a little bit of pressing and pulling, and it came right back in. So it works just as well as it did right out of the box. So clearly, it's quite durable. And I would never drop it on purpose on concrete, but it's nice to know that it'll survive it. Since we covered the aspect of durability on the Vortex, we definitely need to talk about that with the Nikon, which I believe is also a pretty durable scope. However, I have found one problem with it. With this particular one, it looks like the O-ring is coming loose up there at the objective. And you can probably just make that out on that scope up there. I hope you can. Anyway, that O-ring, unfortunately, seems to have come slightly loose in one section. I expect that it will eventually kind of peel away altogether. That's unfortunate, and I'm not sure how that happened, but there it is. What that probably means is I'm going to send this Prostaff back to Nikon for some warranty repair. And I will let you guys know either in annotation or down in the description or in a comment how that whole experience went. If it went well, you may not hear very much from me. If it went badly, you'll hear a lot from me. But we'll see how that turns out. In my experience, both of these optics are perfectly fine in their ability to hold zero. I established a pretty good zero with them at around 25 yards or so, shot it out beyond that, shot it at 225, shot it at 375, shot them both at 425, and had great experiences with both of them. I found them to be pretty fast on target. In most cases, the Nikon was a little bit clearer and a little bit easier to get on target with, to stay on target with, just because of the added and perhaps better clarity that I experienced with the Nikon. The Vortex, on the other hand, while the clarity wasn't quite as good as the Nikon, held that zero perfectly. I saw no degradation of that from the time that I established it to the time that I pushed it out to 225, 375, 425, and whatever. It stayed on target. And as long as I could get that clarity and that eye relief correct with this gun, with this optic, I was able to get on target with my gun, and that's what really mattered. In the end, I would say that either one of these optics is a really good choice if you're looking for versatility and affordability. The Vortex seems to have better build quality. It seems to be really nice and durable, and that is definitely something to search for. While the Nikon, in my opinion, just has inherently better clarity. So if that's the selling point for you, if that's what you really need, you might want to go with this one. The Nikon is more expensive than the Vortex. That's definitely something to keep in mind. You can get either one of these great optics at opticsplanet.com. Don't forget to use that 10% off coupon code. That is going to be very short-lived, so use it while you can. There's a huge range of other great products at opticsplanet.com, of course, and I do appreciate them partnering with me on this video to bring this scope review to you guys. Thanks again to everybody for watching. I'm the Late Boy Scout. We'll see you on the next one.
These are just two of the pretty decent ones that are out there. These are the two that I was kind of most impressed with as I was kind of going through the website, looking at ones to try out. And if you're interested in a red dot optic, if you don't want to spend a ton of money, one of these might be a good